Casey Carter wishes luck to her client on his first day at the job. She's an executive recruiter and asks him to refer her to more people. Henry, who is a farmer, asks Peter and the other workers to take care of the calves before they wrap up for the day. It's Casey's birthday, and she has arrived at her favorite restaurant to meet her best friend. After settling everything at the farm, Henry takes his niece, Charlotte, to his birthday dinner. Henry's parents scold him for being late, but he just doesn't like being the center of attention. When Henry enters the restaurant and finds Casey there, he realizes that it's her birthday too. Her best friend Jess comes to wish her and surprises her with all the colleagues. Casey thanks everyone and starts opening her gifts. Henry is at the table behind her and is getting some gifts too. All colleagues gift Casey some help coupons so she can learn to ask for help. They hope it frees up some time for her to enjoy life. Casey explains to Henry that she helps people find better jobs. She's surprised that he's a farmer and manages the Eagle Canyon Dairy Farm next to an ice cream place she loves. Henry likes that it pays his bills but aims to own his own farm one day. Casey rips one of her help coupons and gives him her number. She asks him to get in touch if he needs help with a job. A huge cake arrives for Casey, but Henry's brother Simon forgot to get one for him. Casey overhears all this and offers to share her cake with Henry. They're asked to blow the candles together and make a wish right before cutting the cake. Casey places the cake between them, and they both blow on it at the same time. Henry gets a call from an unknown number to invite him for a dance show. He doesn't understand why a TV show, Dance Your Heart Out, would want him to participate. Casey thinks it's the most popular show and knows all about it. She asks if she can be his partner, but Henry would rather give her his place. Casey knows that can only work if she joins with him. Even if there's no live audience, Henry doesn't want to give anyone a reason to laugh at him. Casey finds it weird that Henry got the wish she made. Jess hands over the last birthday cake slice so she can have it for breakfast. When Casey comes to her car, she replies to a missed call from an estate attorney, David DeVrow. Casey learns that she has a great aunt she never knew about. Gladys was on her late mother's side, and she has left some property for Casey. As her closest living relative, Casey has inherited a farm. Gladys's reserves have been used to pay the workers who care for the animals. Jess is worried about how Casey will take care of a farm when she can't even care for a goldfish. Casey looks at the help coupons and remembers that Henry wanted to own a small farm. She feels like she got his wish, and their wishes might have been swapped by mistake. She finally uses one of her help coupons to ask Jess to cover her meetings. Casey arrives at Henry's farm and asks if he wished for his own. She explains what happened with their wishes and seems sure there's some magic to it. She proves it by showing him that she got the call about the farm at the same time when he got one for the dance show. All this doesn't make sense to Henry, but Casey wants them to wish again on the last slice of cake to undo the swap. That doesn't work, because Henry gets another message from the show asking him to confirm his participation. Casey still asks for his help to manage her farm, since he's the only farmer she knows. She remembers that he's not happy with his current job and agrees to hire him part-time till he figures out his own place. She allows him to run the farm any way he wants. The deal sounds too good to be true, so Casey admits that she also needs him to participate in the dance show. She assures him he can learn one dance and thinks that getting a farm in exchange would be great for him. Henry really wants the farm deal, so he confirms his participation. They visit the farm she inherited, and Henry thinks it's perfect. It's near his regular job, so he can come over every morning and evening for the animals. Henry informs Charlotte and Peter about this farm and what happened with Casey. They decide to help him out at this new farm too. The host at the dance show, Spencer, reads out the rules for the couples. Their instructor is Gloria, whose job is to make sure they don't embarrass themselves. They begin the first round of the show with 6 couples, who will be dancing to the waltz. 2 couples will be eliminated after the first round. This talk of rounds makes Henry ask how many there are. When he learns that the show goes on for 3 rounds, he gets offended and walks off. Casey assures him that they won't go beyond the first round. All the couples are great, and they might be eliminated soon. Gloria starts teaching them how to waltz, but Henry is terrible at it. He doesn't want to compromise at all. Casey wants to have a word with the baker to learn if they did something magical to the cake. She refuses to believe that the universe will grant her wish by making her dance with someone who can't. Jess knows the baker won't solve her problem and asks her to just go with the flow. Charlotte and Peter thank Casey for letting them work on the farm. Henry assigns tasks to them, and Casey also changes into farm-appropriate clothes. Henry asks her to start with taking the eggs from the chickens. As Casey starts talking to the chickens, Henry smiles. A while later, he catches Casey looking at videos of how to milk a cow. He teaches her how to do it, and she turns out to be a quick learner. Charlotte decides to head back with Peter, and Henry hears them bantering about stopping in town on their way. Casey loves watching the farm at the end of the day. Henry makes her realize it's about the community because no one can do all the work on the farm themselves. He shares a story about a young farmhand who got a job with a grumpy farmer and his wife. They woke up one day to a violent storm and realized that all their animals and gates were secure because of the young worker. Casey knows he's trying to explain that the farmers learned to trust. Henry knows her co-workers offer help and thinks she should trust them and delegate tasks. Casey explains that it was just her and her mom growing up. She worked all the time, so Casey became self-sufficient. She passed away when Casey started college, so she knows more about being lonely than trusting people. Henry understands and reminds her that they're supposed to rehearse the waltz. She knows he's a terrible dancer, but trusts him to come through because he's a hard worker. She asks him to close his eyes and follow her lead. After the first round of the competition, Spencer interviews Casey and Henry to ask how they met. They admit that they celebrated their birthdays together by mistake. Since they crack a lot of jokes and puns, Spencer thinks of them as a cute couple. The judges choose Casey and Henry for the next round along with 3 other couples. Casey seems excited that they're supposed to do swing dance. Peter and Charlotte keep waltzing in front of Henry to make fun of him. Casey is getting a lot of new clients after being on the show. Jess is curious about her experience in the dance show and how the other couples are. She wonders if Henry has kissed her yet, because she noticed their chemistry. Casey assures her their collaboration is temporary, since she doesn't have time to think about romance. She's still glad to do something for herself. Charlotte seems sure Henry won't be able to fix Peter's truck. Even then, Casey thinks he's determined enough to make it happen. When he succeeds, Casey asks them all to drop by the office. She has prepared a checklist board so that all of them can check their tasks when they're done. While feeding the goats, Casey starts panicking and shouts out to Henry for help. After helping her, Henry gets another random call from the comedian, George Grant. He saw them on the dance show and wants them to do an opening act for him in town. From Casey's reaction, Henry knows she wished for this too. Casey clarifies that she makes a birthday wish list every year. It's mostly about things she wants to accomplish that year. She added 3 wishes this time and begged Henry to fulfill all her wishes for the farm. He's not happy about doing stand-up comedy because he's sure her 3rd wish will come out of nowhere. Casey assures him that her 3rd wish is not related to him. In exchange for doing the stand-up, she agrees to give him half the ownership of the farm. This can help him quit his job and live at her farm full-time. She assures him that he's off the hook for the 3rd wish. She also promises to let him live on the farm rent-free for 2 years. Henry decides to quit his job and take on the offer of working on her farm like he wants. Gloria seems impressed with their swing dance and thinks they're not hopeless. Casey watches Henry looking at a swing dance video when she comes to ask for help. She is scared of a mutant rat in the chicken coop, but it turns out to be a possum. Henry suggests taking a break and plans a barbecue with his family. Henry's mother, Jan, seems sure that his dad, Mac, will not give up his grillmaster title to Henry so easily. She knows Henry is like that too, but he values Casey's opinions. When she learns that Casey doesn't have a family, she asks her to keep meeting them. Peter approaches Henry to wonder if Charlotte is seeing anyone. When Henry asks him to ask her out, Peter suggests that he should ask Casey too. No one believes that Henry can throw a lasso, but Casey seems to think he can. She thinks he's modest, and it turns out that she's right. Henry and Casey keep working on the farm and start discussing names for it. She wants something with meadows while Henry is trying out some puns. When it's time for Henry's nightly rounds, Casey tags along. At their first stand-up show, Casey asks Henry not to be nervous because the audience isn't allowed to film them. Henry thinks about the worst that could happen to him and freezes up on stage. Casey prompts him and keeps making jokes to help him. She offers to involve the audience when Henry has nothing to say. Charlotte and Jess ask questions he can easily answer to smooth things over. When they end on a positive note, Henry thanks Casey for helping him on stage. She reminds him that he once told her about the need to have a community of people to support them. Casey is also excited that she set Peter and Charlotte up. This is the first time she has ever finished 2 items on her list, and she thanks him. He's sure she has plenty of time to do the 3rd one too. He learns that Charlotte and Peter are finally out on a date for ice cream. Casey suggests that they should get ice cream from Hancock's too someday. They perform perfectly in the next round too, so they get chosen for the final round to do the tango. Casey is frustrated about her presentation, but Henry has faith in her. He spots her birthday list on the laptop and admits that he's going crazy not knowing what the 3rd one is. When she assures him that it doesn't concern him, he goes back to work. When Casey is tired of the presentation, they rehearse the tango. They end the day with ice cream and decide to go with Henry's suggestion of naming the farm Wishful Meadows. Casey knows her bosses want her to work from the office. She will miss working at the farm because it makes her feel great. She's even thinking of starting her own business with all the new clients. At the end of the night, while Henry goes for his rounds, Casey decides to head home. When he comes back from work, he finds Casey sleeping and tucks her in. He wakes up earlier than her and makes coffee. When he notices her laptop, he can't control himself and checks her birthday list. He's excited that the last item on her list is about finding love. Casey ends up missing her meeting that morning because she overslept. She wants Jess to proof her presentation but finds that her birthday list is open. She rushes to the dance rehearsal and confronts Henry about the list. He feels bad for invading her privacy, but admits that he really wanted to know the last item. She thinks it's embarrassing because finding love has been on her list for years. She started to believe it might happen with him, but feels disappointed and asks him to forget their deal. Jess notices how angry Casey looks in the office. Charlotte also notices Henry's expressions and wonders what he did. Jess admits that snooping was bad, but thinks she would be curious about the list too. She thinks Casey is closing herself off again and asks her to think about what she wants. Charlotte doesn't want things to end between them because of one fight. She asks Henry to put himself out there and fix things with Casey. During her presentation, Casey seems uncertain about how the clients will respond. Henry turns up there with flowers and apologizes for hurting her. He still feels like her true love wish has come true because he has fallen for her. When she admits that she loves him too, he asks her to dance with him that night. Jess takes over the meeting and wraps it up early so they can all watch Casey and Henry dance. They turn up late but instantly get ready to tango on stage. As they dance, Gloria and Spencer look at them proudly. Everyone loves their performance, and they end up on the truck in the farm again. Casey has decided to start her own business. He's happy about spending more time with her and kisses her.